Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Talking is a Free Action. This is our weekly show where we peruse and select some of the most interesting people of the material plane and then put them through a set of challenge rooms and questions to find out a little bit more about them and the world that they live in. Yes. Why, you may ask? I have no idea. It definitely doesn't have anything to do with any sort of invasion of any higher beings or anything, I swear. I swear. Yes, anyway, I am the Playmaker, and I am one of the newly appointed question masters. You know, one of your resident benevolent inquisitors. And this place that we are in a minute is my parlour of candor. See what I did there? Yes, no? Shush. Anyway, now, you may have noticed that I'm not alone. That is because I have been through the material plane and found this wonderful creature here. And I've brought them here for some fun and games. Now, just so the audience knows, what is your name, dearie?
Which one are we going for? mine or Brine's? I'll start with me. I'm Michael, and I'm coming in with Brine tonight.
Right, yes.
Today, whenever you're watching or listening.
Mm-hmm. Now, it is also my understanding that Brine is connected to other characters in the material plane, as well as the higher being who has also introduced themselves, known as Mike, who calls the Real Wawowed, yes, I said that, their home. It is a very funny name to call your world, yes. Anyway, it is my hope that we are able to extract information from Brine as well as Mike. Now, Brine, are you ready to play?
Well, let's do this.
Good. But before we do that, we have some amazing sponsors that we must thank. We have to get all of the dot the I's and cross the T's, as it were. The sponsors that we have are the entities known as Hero Forge, Ultra Pro, Phoenix Dice, and Alchemy RPG. And we also have a group of fantastic supporters in Idle Champions, Neverwinter, Elwood Academy, and D&D Beyond. I should also mention our special fondness for our audience members known as the D20 Club. I'm going to put these down for the moment and do the hard, which we all do. Yes, the Warlock has a problem with it, but we all do it. And if you'd like, you can join them by supporting us on Patreon for as little as one of your local currency. If you can't join us in the Parlour of Candle or live, you can always listen on your favorite podcasting app by searching for Roll Together RPG. And if you wanted to find us on any of the planes of social media, as terrible as some of them are, you can just search Roll Together RPG. Now, Brine, you are in the Parlour of Candor, as I've said multiple times already, and for the next 55 minutes or so, we shall be playing a game with this deck of 100 cards. Yes, now it's a little bit different, yes. How does it work, I hear you ask? Well, if you look in your pocket right now, you'll find that you have a D100. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's weird.
Yes.
I don't usually walk around with a D100.
Let you in on a little secret. I may or may not have had my little friend here sneak it into your pocket when you walked into my parlour. Anyway, I'm going to ask you to roll one of these D100, and that is going to choose the card from the deck. You will then take the card to the door over there, which you see has a very nicely cut out of putting a card on there, and that will give you access to the next room, where we will find out some juicy information about yourself, maybe solve some puzzles, kill some creatures, maybe even walk into some traps. I don't know. We'll find out, won't we? However, though, if you come across anything that you don't particularly want to deal with, you can always skip it by saying talking is a free action. And we'll get a chance to ask this Mike some questions as well. Once the 55 minutes are up, you'll be safely taken to the exact moment I took you from, and you'll have no memory of any of this happening. So, yes, it's good, isn't it? Is there anything that you'd like to say before we begin our game?
Do you have any pickles?
And oddly enough, I do actually have some pickles. And a little bit of a description of what the Parlour of Candor looks like. As you walk through the door has one of those strange glass bits on the front with a sign that has unreadable writing on it. And there are a set of tables laid out within this parlour. And there is a counter, a glass counter, and inside it there are what look to be cards in strange protective casings, and there's weapons on the wall. I will let you in on a little secret. The weapons were a gift from the Forge Master. Very, very good at what they do. So, fantastic. Anyway, and then we have a couple of gaming tables around. This is like your geek retreat or nerd shop, as it were. Anyway, and there is a jar of pickles on the counter. So if you'd like to help yourself to a pickle, you're more than welcome to. In fact, pull the pickles over, and I'll hand you one now.
I will take the pickles. Just give me the jar. Let's not mess about. You know.
Fine. You can take the
just
jar
work my way through them.
Sounds good to me. Now, would you like to roll me a D100, and we'll see which card you draw?
We have a 68.
68. Now, let me just... I do that because I'm good at these. Anyway, that pulls this card out here, and what we have is... Oh, the picture on the card shows a room, a very dimly lit room. It's sort of like a corridor. If you'd like to take that and go place that on the door for me, please.
She walks over giddily and will slot it in.
As you slot it in, the door itself has an almost purple magical aura that goes through it, and it cracks open, and you are able to enter in. Now, as the card suggested, you have walked into what looks to be a very poorly lit corridor. The surface of the floor that you are currently walking on is very uneven. There's cracks and small holes that lead into some sort of void, but not enough for you to fall through, however. And you are able to carry on. It's very dark in here. You can't quite see to the end of the tunnels, at the end of this corridor, so you can't see the door. But you're going to have to do a little bit of walking. How do you wish to proceed?
Well, although she doesn't often use her skills, Brine is a rogue, so she's going to sort of, if the walls... Did you say there were walls?
There are walls, yes.
It's very in theme for her to basically just avoid the floor. But I will start with what every good rogue should do, is make an investigation check to check for traps along the floor.
Yes, please
or
do.
any loose ones that may take her into the void. Investigation. That is a dirty 20.
Dirty 20. Oh, well, as you have a little look around, you can see that there are plenty of places on the floor that you could potentially trip. Nothing looks loose, so it doesn't look like you're going to fall through into the void below or anything like that, but there's definitely tripping hazards around. There doesn't seem to be any of those plate type things that you would find in certain places that may activate some sort of a trap. You definitely don't see anything like that.
Awesome. Dexterously, she'll skip across, sort of like where she's identified the biggest areas are without any gaps. She will sort of like hop across to the end of the corridor, or sort of room as such.
And as you hop, skip, and jump across the floors, every now and then you do happen to bump into the walls and have to skirt along it a little bit to avoid a particular area that might trip on. You do find that the wall itself is particularly slimy. Some might even say, I can't believe I'm going to say it, but if I don't, the poppet might have a go at me. Moist. Yes, I know, that sends a shiver down my back as well. My little friend's tail here is going really weird because of that word. Anyway, as you carry on going, and you're dark. Do you have dark vision?
I do. I do.
So you can see 60 feet ahead of you in various shades of grey, 50 shades, some might say. But anyway, you carry on going, and you're traveling for about a minute until you start hearing some very ominous slurping noises ahead of you.
Do I need to look up, or do I want to look up?
You can look up. There's just a ceiling in front of you. It's above you. No, there is just a ceiling above you. Directly in front of you, though, as you have been on traveling further, just coming into your 60-foot of vision that you have in the darkness, you begin to see a blue light, bluish-green light, like a cyan teal type of color. That's so many different colors, they're all at once. And the slurping noises get louder, and then the vision of what is in front of you begins to fade and become blurry. And then you can see what looks to be a floating skeleton in the middle of what looks to be some sort of liquid in front of you. For anybody who doesn't know, in fact, I'll get you to roll an investigation check. Let's see if you know what this is.
I know about
you can take a guess if you'd like as well.
I'm assuming it's some kind of slime, or that's a 14. 14.
You can see, judging by the slurping noise and sizzling sound of maybe some sort of acid coming from this thing, it is probably a gelatinous cube, and it's completely blocking your path. What do you do to get past it? It is very slowly moving towards you.
Is there any space between the sides or above it? Or does it basically encompass the entire?
It looks like it encompasses the entire corridor. However, there's probably a few inches gaps on either side of it, so it is able to move. Part of the wall is slimy on one side, not slimy on the other side. You would have noticed that as you traveled through. It looks like it was on a trajectory moving away from you, but it seems to have stopped and is now coming back towards you.
Like it almost, it's like a going back and forth.
Yes, like it's on some sort of patrol or on a general walk, trying to lose, some of that gelatinous part of it.
Now, these small holes that lead into sort of nothingness on the floor.
Yes.
How wide are some of them? Are any of them squeezable? If one would potentially squeeze through and hang from underneath and just scutter across to the other side of the cube.
Very interesting, yes. I would say that the biggest one that you've probably found is probably just under a foot.
Just under
it's probably
a foot.
The biggest one. Not quite big enough for you to fall through, though.
No, but squeeze through?
You could potentially squeeze through it. How big are you?
Brine is relatively little. She's a small, sort of 20-year-old sea elf. So she's very lean as a rogue. Could I have many a dagger. Could I loosen a couple more off, create a bigger space? Would I have enough time to do that?
Certainly could, yes. Could give that a go. Let's, why don't we make that now, I tell you what, for the fun of it, let's make it a sleight of hand check.
Oh, I'm horrific at those.
As a rogue, you're horrific at sleight of hand. I suppose you must have...
Gotta keep you on the edge.
You must have
but with a terrible roll, that's a 16.
16 now. This was more to establish how much you lift up, rather than using brute strength. You're able to lift up enough for you to slip through, and you can dangle down into the void to get across. You would have to use the other rivets and holes that are...
that was sort of the idea. Try and basically rock climb, which, although dexterous, I imagine you're going to call me out for that being particularly strength worthy as well.
It depends on how you'd like to go about it. Would you like to do it acrobatically or athletically? It's completely up to you. It's your way of getting through the room.
Well, that's very kind. She's very much so an acrobatic. In fact, that's a huge part of the fighting style, is jumping, flying, throwing herself from thing to thing. So it is very much so her like status quo. So she'd sort of do almost like monkey bars from one to the other. But if the gap gets too wide to be able to monkey bar, she'd basically like swing her feet, lodge her foot in, and then like swing again to the next side.
That sounds brilliant. I will have you roll that. You said athletics. I meant acrobatics check, please.
A 22.
22. Absolutely no problem at all. You are able to swing across. There are a couple of instances where you have a slight gap, a bit bigger than what your arms can reach. You do your whole foot trick, swing, glide. You do unavoidably have to put your hand into a hole, and you do feel the moistness of the gelatinous cube. So you will take 2 points of acid damage as your hands touch in, but it's not enough to make you lose your grip. And you get past, and you can look through one of the small holes, and you can see that the cube itself has now passed, and you can get yourself up through the hole.
Loosen herself and pull herself through, and glance across.
And you can see the door right in front of you.
Yeah, she'll open the door.
Fantastic. Now, roll me. I say that we shake things up a little bit here. Roll me a D100. Roll it twice. Let's draw 2 cards. Let's see, and then I'll let you pick which one.
We have. Did that wrong? We have a 54.
54.
A 55.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So, as I draw the cards, I have 2 of them here. Now, you get to pick. The first shows that of a very dark room with what looks to be a table and chair inside it. The other shows another particularly dark room, but there seems to be a variety of snake-like creatures. Which one would you like to go for?
I think I might need a little bit more time, so maybe we should take a free talk there. Have a moment to talking in a free action. Talking is a free action. There we go. I tried to segue, but that backfired.
You're all good? Hi, Mike.
Hello.
How are you doing?
It would have been really awkward if I'd have just fallen and your first one was just like, so how do I not kill character on my very first one?
I think it would have been a case of it would have been like a video game where you would have fallen and then just respawned back at the beginning. But let's try this again, shall we? Right, so I am trying to pick up a D100 because, I'm clever and didn't do that beforehand. So that we can roll the dice for a particular question we are going to ask. How are you finding Monsters of Maelstrom at the moment? Is it going good?
There's nothing better than just like good old swashbuckling, beamed, like, I don't know why, but I always picture it just being in like a tropical paradise on a pirate ship kind of vibe in my head. So it's just so fun to get into that, being in that on a boat with such a localized story, because you're on a boat, you're not disappearing off into woodlands, you're not disappearing down a road, you're all together, and it's just so fun. It's nice because it's surprising how little that happens as well in a campaign.
I also find as well when you do something that's either in a set place, so like if your campaign's always set in a particular town, you don't travel around much, or if you're on a ship, the NPCs become more attached to them a lot quicker.
Absolutely,
and not only does it give you the option to explore your own backstories and stuff, but you also can learn more about the NPCs that you're with, and they almost become like characters. So it's almost giving the DM or the DMGM a chance to actually play with you rather than guide you.
You should get that.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to roll some dice. Let's see what question we get.
What we're going to talk.
Yes. So I rolled a 23. Now the 23 is. Now, does Brine have any scars, would you say?
Any scars?
Yes. So the question is, how did your character get their worst scar? Now, you could answer that for Brine, or you could answer that for any of the other characters that you play, if you want to.
I think potentially just she must do because she literally throws herself around. This is a big part of her. The way she fights is she never fights someone face to face. She always has to get the drop on them, or she has to be somewhere the least expected. So she must have face planted off something, or fallen into a shrubbery that she shouldn't have, or coral,
or got caught out at some point because the sneaky.
Yeah, so I bet instead of more pronounced specific scars, I bet she's just covered in bumps and scratches all the time. Because even in her personality, she likes to sit on high places or hang off somewhere she shouldn't be, or hang over people off places they shouldn't. So, yeah.
That's fair enough.
Must do.
I think that's... Yeah, it's always I like the idea of whenever you take a significant amount of damage or a critical hit or something, you gain some sort of a scar. I like the idea that healing magic heals you, but it doesn't fully remove a scarring and all that. You need longer periods of healing for magic to remove that sort of stuff.
I ran a game where we sort of wanted something really hardcore. It was very much like a sort of Dark Souls-esque universe and we decided to sort of make a short rest a long rest, and a long rest would be a week. And we also used crit cards, and crit cards give you certain, permanent damage. Some of them are horrific, ruthless, losing an arm or something like that, or losing your memory. And then others were a little bit more tame, and most of them were tame, and then you had just the unlucky chance. And that made things super interesting playing off that, because if you got critted on horrifically and then you had 7 days or a week to recover, it created some really interesting moments, whether it was in the clerical church getting healed or stuff like that. It opened up this whole different world of RP between people, because they were talking, and it was almost like they were creating memories while they were still in the middle of the adventure, where they'd be like, oh, do you remember when that got me, or that got me good? And it was hugely downtime orientated as well, so it was more enjoyable to have 7 days of long rest as such. Because it wasn't just oh, you sleep for 7 days. If you were horrifically injured enough, yes, you might sleep for those entire 7 days.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, that was really cool, sort of leaning on that whole permanent injury thing. And those, but yeah, they were permanent unless you could truly find a way to try fix it through some kind of high-level person, or I guess you just don't have a hand for a while.
That's cool. I've played in a game, or I'm playing in a home game at the moment, where the DM uses an injury table every time a critical hit is scored against you. I notice when you are taken down by a critical hit, so it's very, very niche as to when it happens. You take a critical wound, and or critical injury, should I say, and the most common one that I get is some sort of internal bleeding. And the effect of internal bleeding is at the start of your turn, you make a Constitution saving throw, and if you pass it, turns normal. If you fail it, you lose your turn. It's
oh, yes, that's ruthless. I think I prefer to be stunning striked. And I find that just as ah.
And it's and I'm the healer, so that's even worse.
Yeah, that is ruthless.
Anyway, should we roll another question? Would you like to go back in?
Should we smash one more, and then let's go and see if I can get through another one.
So that is a 22. So not far off of what we already had, but luckily it's a different question. What is, and now this is a character choice that you would like to make. What is your character's morning routine?
Well, I really leaned on this pickles joke, but she's most definitely an early riser. She likes to go get herself somewhere, and probably returning back to the water quite a lot. Brine is a sea elf, after all, and being on the ship is, I guess, slightly unnatural in a certain way to be sleeping outside of home. But if she slept in the water, her home would disappear. So probably like morning swim, classic sort of get up, and then after a swim, it'd be coffee and rum and all of the other things, plus pickles, of course, not to let anybody down.
Now, is the ship that you're currently living on, is that a permanent residence, or is that just like for the time being sort of thing until you get to where you need to go?
I guess in a way it's permanent for her. It's clearly in her mind going to come to an end. She's like acutely aware of that, but she'll have been on a ship a while now and intending on staying on it as long as that ship stays on the water. If it ends up docking for quite a while, she'd probably move on. She's left quite a very, very strict life from before. It was very like hermited in a sense of the entire village were very much like, oh no, you don't speak to outside peoples. Oh, you don't like those outside peoples. No, no, no. Sort of like very much localized. The village was the village. The people in the village. You stayed in the village. You very Moana in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
Like you know, everything we need is here. You don't need to interact with anybody outside of the world. So she did the total opposite, like anybody who's completely restricted does. You know, they go out, but the water is still her home, so she'd have to have somewhere. But the ship is currently giving her enough to learn and see new things without, you know, totally separating herself from who she is and that life from before.
So I was going to say, you could ask the captain if you could have like a little, you know, how you get like shark cages and stuff. You'd have like a little room attached to the bottom of the ship. Not too big, just in case you go into shallow water, but just enough for you to put a bed in and just sleep underwater.
Yeah, now and then. Yeah, but bar that, she's pretty damn straightforward. Like, morning swim, cup of coffee, go find someone to irritate for a little bit.
That's fair enough. Right, so let us go back in and decide which room we're going to go into next, shall we? And we go back in.
I think snakes.
Oh, you'd like to go into the room with the snakes, would you?
Yeah, because that sounds like the worst idea, so that clearly is probably the best idea.
Oh, it does sound like one of the worst ideas, doesn't it? Right, well, let's do it then, shall we? So you walk into the room. It is, as I said, it is a very, very dark room. Now, you can't see anything currently. You can hear the hissing. You can hear hissing sounds all around you. It's not coming from any particularly localized area. The room is in utter darkness. What would you like to do? You have 60 feet of dark vision, so I'll say there you can see the floor around you. It looks relatively solid, maybe made out of some sort of stone or wood.
And my goal is still just to get to the other side.
Yes. Well, at least you need to find the door. You can't see the door at the moment.
Well, I've never been on one myself, but I was always told in dungeons you start left and then you keep going left until you can't go left anymore. And then you turn around and you keep going left. So I guess I will scoot to the left and sort of use the wall as a guide and just keep going and follow it.
You begin walking left and you walk not very far, probably 60, 70 feet until you reach a wall. And on the wall, or just in front of the wall, sort of attached to it, you can see that there is some sort of a statue stood there. It's very greyed, almost looks like a very light grey, a few little cracks in it, and you can see that there's a halfling in a position of horror.
Oh, basilisks. Have I got anything? I have a backpack. I don't. I'm gonna get a little like rag out and pull out one of my main dagger, and then I'm going to quickly like breathe on it, polish, and then I'm going to attempt to use that to carry on looking, and basically don't look at anything apart from looking through it with the reflection of the dagger, if I can. But if it's pitch black, I don't know if there is a reflection that I can use.
I mean, you can definitely see yourself off of it. You could you walk a few more feet in front of you, and you can see that there looks to be some sort of a mirror there. It's one of those circular mirrors that's on like a twisty. You can twist it and move it around, and it's a little bit of a reflection on there.
Does it look like it'd lift if I pull it off?
It's quite a large mirror. It's probably the size of your torso, and you do see next to it that there is a torch attached to the wall on some sort of like a weevil type thing. A weevil? I don't know if that's the right word for it. That's the word I'm going to use though.
So if I can use the torch and the mirror to twist it and bounce the light off the mirror to sort of see into different parts of the room to see if I can kind of track where the door might be.
Yeah, you can do that. You'll need to light the torch first, of course.
Are there any like rocks or pebbles on the floor or anything like that?
You definitely can find some loose bits of pebbles on the floor if you'd like to, yes.
I'll take the dagger and the rock and crack it together to try and make a spark. Light it, because I don't actually have flint and steel or anything like that.
Okay, but yes, you do that. Torch lights up, and you're able to use the weevil, as we're now calling it, to pull it around into position, and the light pulses off, and is a very focused light that you can see all the way to the end of the room where the mirror itself is pointing to. And it was pointing directly or diagonally across the room. You can see there are a number of different pillars in this room, just in front of yourself, and there are a few other statues in here as well. Still hear the sounds of hissing, and just as the light hits the end wall, you can see what looks to be the shadow of something moving from that direction. You can, however, see that the door to the exit here is just to the left of the light.
Do I see any other mirrors?
There is a mirror right where your light has shined. You probably need to adjust your mirror probably 90 degrees to the right and 45 degrees up in order to hit it. But you can see that there through the light.
I'll adjust it, just reflect off the next mirror.
You do that and it goes, and it sort of lights up the entire room. Almost very like Tomb Raider-y style, it's treasure hunters and all that sort of stuff. And it illuminates this entire room. And you can see that you are in a long corridor-esque style room, almost like a throne room, as it were. On the opposite end, the way that you came in, you can see that there is a staircase that leads up to a throne. And on said throne, there is a statue of some ruler of some sort. And there are statues littered in various different locations around the room. But you can still hear the sounds of hissing, and you can see a rather large creature is beginning to make its way towards you. What would you like to do?
Not to look directly at it would probably be a good start.
That sounds really good.
How close is the door?
The door? About 50 feet away from you. The creature itself is not in between you and the door. It is moving to try and get behind you.
This might be super basic, but she's just going to, like, cunning action, like, boom, and just, like, bolt towards the door. Now, that was her goal, find a door, found the door. So that gives me 90 foot of speed.
That is very fast, very, very fast. Now, with the number of obstacles that there are around, I would ask for you to roll me an acrobatics check. This isn't going to determine whether you trip or not. It's just going to see if anything sort of stops you in your tracks or anything like that. And I shall roll as well to see if the creature itself is able to catch you, keep up.
That's a 25 on the die.
I don't think I'm going to beat that.
She quick and agile.
With a 16, I'm not going to beat that. However, what does happen is you sprint towards the door. You have to slide underneath in between some of the statues' legs, hop over some statues that have fallen over and crumbled into pieces. And as you have made this mad dash towards the door, you hear this loud hissing sound as this creature just jumps out from behind the throne and begins chasing after you, knocking over the statues as it goes. But not looking behind you, because why would you do that? Charge straight towards the door, open it, and fall through into a corridor. In a very dark corridor. You shut the door behind you, and you hear something hit up against the wall, but you've made it through the rather horrifying room. Mm-hmm. And I stood right next to you. I, of course, wasn't present in the room, because why would I do that? But did you find that all right? Was that okay? How have you found the games so far? Has it been fun? It's been interesting.
It's been fun. It's been very themed towards me. Generally, people do the thinking for me, so being able to just like launch myself at stuff and run is kind of handy.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. As I said, I'm very new to this, and I want to make sure that I don't do anything to upset any of the others.
No. It'd have kind of sucked if I'd have ended up a stone.
It would have, yes. But I mean, that's what it's like if you were to go into a dungeon. I've heard particular things about the pockets in the Fae, and I really don't want to make them mad at me.
Wait, that sort of stuff's in dungeons?
Yes, you can find that stuff in dungeons, vaults, tombs, all of that sort of stuff. I believe it depends on where you go. I reckon.
That's so cool. I've never been in one.
Well, I mean, that's definitely something you're going to have to experience at some point, I reckon. Anyway, shall we draw another card now? I'll give you the option. Would you like to draw one card, or would you like to draw two and pick?
I'm going to draw two, but then you pick.
Oh, I like that. Well, I'll still let you roll the dice, however, though.
So, on the first, a 55 again.
Oh. I'll let you roll that again.
Yeah, what are the odds of that? 29 or a 14.
29 or a 14. Right, well, as you've allowed me to pick, I'm not going to tell you what's on the cards. I'm just going to let my little friend here take the card and go put it in the door. You see there's a rather almost translucently radiant mouse will run over, grab the card from my hand and put it into the door. And as the door itself opens and the mouse re-enters my shirt, you walk through. Now, please, Brine, can you tell me, are you familiar with the city known as Waterdeep?
I feel like she'll have docked there once or twice, but never spent more than a day there.
You walk through the door and you find that you are in a very wide open space. The familiar dock area of Waterdeep is present around you. You can hear the sounds of screaming and shouting coming from just off of the key area and where the marketplace and that sort of stuff would be. And you can see what looks to be a rather large and very naked statue seems to be rampaging around the dockyard, picking up stools and throwing them, picking up fish and chucking them back into the sea. The people are running around in absolute fear. Parts of the city itself look like it's in complete and utter ruins. There's fire everywhere. You are on your own. The only person around who seems to have any weapons on them. There doesn't seem to be any town or city guards anywhere. What would you like to do?
It's not like it's actually hurting people.
It is. There are people who are getting hurt. There are stools that are being thrown. The stools are either hitting into other carts and things and whether people are on, or it's picking up carts and lobbing it with people in them. Ships are being damaged. The ship that you have been traveling on has docked and is taking some damage from these things being thrown as well.
How big, remind me, is the statue itself?
This
like gargantuan, or?
It's about 12 foot, so it's getting to the gargantuan level.
I'd like to look around. Can I see any sort of like extensive fishing nets, like large ones, or trawler, like a trawler ship or something like that? Oh, that's a natural 20 or a 24.
Oh, well, a natural 20, yes. Well, it doesn't take you very long. In fact, your eyes instantly lock on to another ship that is docked next to the one that you've been traveling on. And you can see that this is one of those ships that goes out to sea with one of the very large nets and scoops up as many fish as it can. You can see that the crane type system that it operates has a net up in, so it's not in the water. It hasn't been packed away. It looks like it's been sort of abandoned since when the attacks started. But the net itself looks like it's partially broken. Not the net itself, but the mechanism holding the net up is partially broken. The ship looks like it's taking some sort of damage, but you would be able to grab that net if you wanted to.
Yeah, she'll run up. Does it look particularly heavy, or do you reckon I could drag it myself?
It looks like it's going to be quite heavy, yes. You would probably get away with dragging it, though, however.
It may involve a roll, but she'll basically try and, try and sound like she knows what she's doing, even though she doesn't. And basically be like, you, help me now. And basically just sort of do like this shock effect on some people to just be like, just help me. I know what I'm doing. And then she'll run across and start pulling the net, and hopefully people will start helping her pull the net.
Well, you seem to be the first person that these people have bumped into since this attack started that's taken some sort of a authoritarian figure, a leadership role, as it were. And as you begin shouting out orders, they see that how well equipped you are, and they begin following your orders. They begin grabbing the net itself and begin dragging it, and they will put and take it in the position that you so wish.
So let's have Mike try and explain what Brine is going to try to do. And then you can figure out the rest. She's going to try get the net and get everybody to 3, 2, 1 heave, throw the net over the 12-foot stone thing, and basically everybody just pull it down to the ground in the net and basically peg it down, rope it across, and just pin it to the floor, because that seems like the most effective. Because I've got nothing to break it apart, and I don't particularly think my little daggers are going to do much to stop a stone golem thing from doing what it's doing. So yeah, that's the plan.
Fantastic.
Basically rally all the villagers, the townspeople, to just take it into their own hands and pin it to the ground until someone bigger and stronger can come and smash it to pieces.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic idea. Now, let us see. Let's roll me a d10, please.
This is how many people are willing to help.
Maybe.
I'll take it. 6. That's 6. Cool.
So yeah. You were able to hit 6 other people who have begun helping you, and they all move into various positions to throw this net over this creature. The net is more than capable of covering over the statue itself, and as you throw it, it goes over the back of it. Now, I'd like you to make me a quick perception check, please, as you are one of the people throwing it.
22. My rolls are stunning today. I'll take it. They're not usually.
As the creature begins to... I keep calling it a creature. It's a statue. As it begins throwing itself around and trying to get out of the net, you spot, with your very keen perception, on the back of its head, there seems to be a ledge and a door on it.
Well, if we successfully pull it to the ground, I probably will have fairly easy access to that little door.
Unfortunately for yourself, because I know you're not very good at this is going to be an athletics check. However, I will allow you to get a +1 for each person that is helping you, and you can do it with advantage as well.
Take it. So, okay. So, we have got a 13 +3, so 16. Throw a 6 on top.
22.
22.
That took me a lot longer to do in my head than I thought it would.
We both just went way in minutes.
22, right. Well, I mean, that's more than enough. The creature, I mean, I'm going to roll, but I rolled a 3. But so you pull, all of you pull, some of you, as the creature begins to, or the statue begins to crumple down, it goes to do the whole thing to try and get you all to go flying, but as you all lift off of the ground, there's some momentum that you get and you as hard as you can, and the creature, the statue's knees begin to crack and it just slides off and crashes to the floor, unable to get back up because its legs are still stood in place, broken at the knee level. It is writhing around, but you could try and attempt to get through the door if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to make you roll for it because you are very acrobatic. You hop onto the back of the statue's head, you put your hands through the net, open the door, and as the door itself opens inwards into the creature's head, but you can see that it is a corridor on the other side. But you're able to get through the netting and you go through the door. You end up on your butt, but you go through the door. And you are and you are now in the corridor. Now, at this point, I think it would be interesting for me to go. Talking is a free action.
I actually managed to successfully do these because I didn't have to use my riddle brain or anything like that. So I got a bit distracted and excited.
We haven't come across any puzzles yet. Anyway, let us roll a dice to see what question we get. And I drop one on the floor. That's not very clever. That is a 34. Roll that dice. Ooh, okay, so what's an arc or adventure you'd love to explore in a campaign that I haven't had the chance to yet?
Is that as a player or DM?
Either. Let's say both. We've seen that you've DM'd Huxley's Book Club on the channel, and you've been a player in quite a few things. So is there anything in particular, any arcs or anything that you'd love to DM or explore, or anything that you'd like to play as a player?
There's a couple of there's just so many. So as a player, I really would love to do the whole the wizard from level 1, where you start at level 1 and the theme is truly of when someone's got true magic potential. Because you see it now and then, and I think a lot of DMs do an incredible job of really making casters feel powerful. But there is something I'd love to see where you have a group of casters or something like that, where the whole thing is everybody's oh, what is running through their veins? They are just whether it's a world where it's not just low magic in the first place, and you have some people, where maybe the max level of wizards you have is 5th level wizards in your world, and so that it takes, depending on the DM, takes a couple of months and already you're level 6, level 7, and more powerful than any other magic user in that world. I'd love to play a true
natural born caster type thing.
Yeah, and it's really nailed down that you are something brand new and special, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be heroic, but it could be that direction of truly something unique and interesting. I think that would be really cool.
You could definitely do that, like, depending on the world that you're playing in and the DM. The DM could do it in a sort of way where this is DM brain for me, just going off on one now, where because you're such a natural caster of magic, you are integrated into the very fabric of the world itself. So you could really play into that, and gods of magic and all that. You're connected to them, connected to ley lines, whatever the magical system that the world uses. But yeah, that's a very good way to help your DM. What's the word I'm looking for? Craft out the world and add that extra lore to it. I think that's really cool.
To be fair, and plus to a DM, I think it's something I'd love to do for someone. Because, like, how awesome would it be if, I mean, I'm a big believer in you find out who the characters are, then you kind of write the story. And you write a lot of, every DM I'm sure has some like stunning ideas, but I really like to take those ideas and tailor them into something that is very unique and special to a player.
Yeah.
Through whether it's their backstory or even a passing comment that they might make, and you go, "That's really cool. That's going to come bite you in the ass later."
Well, like a passing comment of I am part of a book club, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just roll with it and say, "That's really important to me as a DM." But I just think for a DM to make them and their character feel special and powerful and the hero is something just really cool to do. Like, it'd just be so fun to watch someone like gleam as they can see this character develop into something incredibly cool and intriguing, and do that for 5, 6 individual people.
It's probably, it's one of my favorite things about doing that sort of stuff. Anyway, shall we roll another question, or shall we go back in and do another room?
What are we feeling? I like chatting. I do like chatting.
We'll go for another question then. Let's do that. That is a 17. I'm rolling really low on these dice today. Oh, okay. This is an interesting one. Which D&D monsters aren't supposed to be cute, but you always feel bad for fighting them because you find them cute regardless?
Goblins, every time. Like, I never intentionally, because I'm a big believer in the making a lot of like the certain humanoid monsters. I do love making them into societies and part of other societies in a lot of the worlds that I have. So like bugbears, hobgoblins, or goblinoids in general, other creatures that are semi-sentient, I throw into a lot of my cities, and I see a lot of people do that, and I really enjoy that because it can create such a dynamic. But a friend of mine who was like our forever DM for years and years and years and years, he just had this like auto switch to when he was playing goblins to play them just sort of like incredibly simplistic and stupid, but because of the way he sounded really cutesy when he voiced them, because they are capable of talking, and a lot of them even do speak or have the capability of speaking different languages. And so when he voiced them, he always voiced them speaking very simple English or simple words. And so I always just equate goblins to my friend DMing them, like voicing them, when we would interact with them. So it's got a bit. What about you? What's the one that jumps out to you?
The one that jumps out to me is the Beholder.
Oh, yes.
You see,
absolutely.
Like, the minis of the Beholder. I think that's, in my mind, that's the reason why they came up with the Death Tyrant, is because the Beholder was seen as too much of a cute creature, even though it looks menacing. But you see the minis and stuff, and some of the pictures that you for, and you just think, oh, it's so cute. It's got horrible teeth and looks like he could bite your head off. But I think it's the big eye that does it. But yeah, that's definitely one of them. Right. I think we have got time for one room, and then we will have to wrap things up. So let's go back in, shall we? Now, yes. Yes, right. So, we're in this very dark and dank corridor at the moment. Shall we? Just one more room, shall we? Shall we do that? Yes? Hopefully it's not...
What do I win?
What do you win? You win the ability to leave. And a self-sentiment of completion, which you'll forget as soon as you go back to where I took you from.
Are you looking for, tips or anything for your, next person for what this is?
Yes, please.
Work on a reward.
Work on the rewards. Okay, yes. I definitely take that into consideration. I want to make sure that I do a good job. I look up to some of the other question masters, so I want to make sure I do a good job for them. Anyway, would you like to roll me a D100, please? We'll do just the one this time.
100. That is a 39.
39, right? Wow. Oh, interesting. Right. It helps if I was in the right place. Sorry, my cards just dropped on the floor. Let me just pick those up for you. Don't worry, it's not 52 pick up. Don't worry about that. No, okay. I've got the card that I want. I'm going to have a look at it. Very interesting. Yes. So that's 39. You said yes. I'll let you put that in the door. As you walk through the door itself, you find yourself in a 30-foot by 30-foot space with very wooden floors, a very large Gothic-style window where moonlight is coming in, and the moonlight itself reveals figures inside of this room. And when I say figures, I mean dolls. Very childlike porcelain-style dolls, various different designs and scariness to them.
This is creepy.
It's very... There is a door on the other side of the room, which looks like it could be the exit. And as you walk in, you can hear the pitter-patter of tiny, non-flesh-like feet going around the floor, and a childlike giggle that just goes, What would you like to do?
Perception check. See if I can spot the little scampering thing.
And roll me that perception check, as it were.
Dirty 20.
Dirty 20, right. Well, I mean, there's definitely plenty of dolls in this room. As you happen to look down towards a large bundle of them that look to be sort of put in the corner of the room, you look at them, and you look at them for a little bit longer than you might normally do. And one of them just blinks at you and disappears from that pile. Now, would you please tell me what your AC is?
Oh, gosh. My AC is only 16.
I rolled a 17 on a dice. So you feel a pinprick in the back of your leg, and then all of a sudden, everything around you gets very, very small. And you look around, and for some reason, you are now holding what looks to be a knitting needle in your hand. And as you look around, you can see that there is a rather tall figure stood right in front of you. The thing that scares you the most is the figure is you. And it is, your body is letting out the very same childlike laugh that you heard before. Gotcha! You're it! And your body begins running around the room and trying to hide behind various dolls. Obviously, with the size of your body, even though you are quite small, but you're definitely not the size of these dolls, it's very hard for the body to hide.
Oh, interesting. She will then immediately, she's going to launch herself into a corner, and I will stealth and attempt to just disappear, because Brine knows how to play Tig.
Oh, please roll a stealth check.
That's a 28.
20. Oh, I don't even think I can see you. Where have you gone? Oh no, you've blended in with the dolls perfectly. I mean, some could say that you might be able to roll in between the different dolls, different like piles of dolls in order for you to get to where this figure is. You can still hear it laughing. It's attempting to hide, but it's failing miserably.
Mm-hmm. And then, as soon as I find it, bag.
Okay, if you'd like to make me an attack roll, please. Use your normal dex and everything, but it will be against your AC because you're attacking yourself.
That makes sense. There's only a 14. Or would I have advantage if I'm stealthed?
Yes, you would, yes, because they do not know where you are. And technically they're covering their eyes up, so they're blind as well, so...
That was worse, 10.
So you go to poke and you hit a piece of the armor that you wear, and the needle doesn't quite pierce it enough to touch skin. The figure, your body, looks at you, goes, and skips off on their hands and knees and goes round to another pile. Again, not hiding very well. You can make another stealth roll and attack roll if you like to see if you're able to sneak up and attack them.
Absolutely, because I feel like it's just going to run away from me if I... 17? 17
on stealth? Yes, okay. You seem to be hiding very well.
To prod. 22.
22. So you stealth up. This time the creature does notice you and goes to move, but with your attack roll, you're able to jab it right in the thigh area, and you feel the pain hit you as your bodies swap back again. And this carrionet doll, pulls the needle out of your leg and goes, "Hey, that was fun. Do you want to play again?"
Sorry, bedtime. And then
bowl
again, because that's the easiest solution.
Come back, please. Some point, I want to play again.
Oh, it was just a game of Tig. Cool. See you.
Bye. And you just, as you go to walk out the door, you just watch as the carrionet doll turns around to some of the others and goes, "Anybody else want to play tag? No one?" And you go through the door. And as you get through the door, you find yourself back in the parlour of Candor. Yes. And I am stood behind the counter, shuffling my cards as I always do, putting some of them away into cases. And I think that is a good place for us to end. It looks like we've come to the end of our time here, Brine. So I would like to thank everybody who's watching us at the moment for joining us for Talking as a Free Action. You will find us every Friday at 6 p.m. BST for either Talk Together or Talking as a Free Action. You can also find us playing D&D on Mondays and Tuesdays at 6 p.m. BST, where you can follow the adventures of people just like Brine. Currently, we have our long-running campaign, Fracture, which is running bi-weekly with Monsters and Maelstrom, on Mondays. And on Tuesdays, I believe we are digging into the archives and re-showing episodes of Seekers of that's the one. Elturel. I was trying to think,
which is a great one. You'll enjoy that one. It's really good.
All of these are streamed at twitch.tv/RollTogetherRPG. The VODs are available immediately after the stream to catch up, or you can find all of our content on YouTube a few days later. And don't forget, you can also enjoy them as a podcast. Many thanks again to our D20 Club on Patreon. And if you'd like to support us, you can for as little as one of your local currencies per month. Thank you also to all of our sponsors and supporters we mentioned before. Now, Brine, you may exit the parlour of Candor, and as you leave, the sign on the door flips to what you would assume would be the close sign, and you can see the ancient question master proverb that says, "Always stay classy at the table." Bye-bye.